Good morning, friends. Myself, Dr. Nidhi Darbari, on My Education Treasure, and today I am going to explain about philosophy and education. Philosophies vary from culture to culture, place to place, and time to time. Thus, different persons having different ideologies, ways of life, tend to have different type of philosophies. Here, the search of philosopher is for understanding man, nature, and the universe. Philosophy is a system of belief about reality. It is integrated view of the world. It includes an understanding of the nature of existence, humankind, and its role in the world. Philosophy is the foundation of knowledge. It provides premises by which man can discover truth and uses his mind to support his life. In conclusion, we can say that philosophy is a critical examination of reality characterized by rational inquiry that aims at the truth for the sake of attaining wisdom. There is supplementary and integral relationship between philosophy and education. Various philosophical theories and principles have been developed and used in educational discourse for implementing it in education time and again. It is rightly said that philosophy is the theoretical part of developing knowledge and education is the practical and action part to implement that knowledge among the students. Philosophy and education. Philosophy is the means of development of human life. Education is the means to achieve the goal. Philosophy deals with the ends, and education is the means to achieve those ends. Philosophy gives ideals, values, and principles. Education works out those ideals, values, and principles. In the words of Herbert, education has no time to make holiday till all the philosophical questions are once for all cleared up. Education is the dynamic side of philosophy. Education can be defined as the strongest instrument for the achievement of the ideals of life and civilized attempt to bring about the balanced and proper development of human personality. The plant of education draws its nourishment from the soil of philosophy. Philosophy is the theory of education, while education is practical thereof. Education is the best means for the propagation of philosophy. Education cannot even be imagined without philosophical principles. Likewise, philosophical principles are lifeless without the help of education. Example, the introduction of 10 plus 2 plus 3 system of education and craft education are the consequence of philosophical views. Thus, philosophy equips us with thoughts, and these thoughts are put into practice by education. Significance of education on philosophy. Philosophy determines the goal of life and also provides suitable and effective guidance and supervision for education to achieve the goal. Philosophy provides the principles and theories of learning, whereas education implements those principles and theories in the process of teaching and learning. True education is practicable only by a true philosophy, according to Spencer. The relation between philosophy and education is as under. Education is philosophy in action. Philosophy provides the purpose or the aim, and education makes it practical. Their relationship is just like the relationship between a lame man and a blind man. The lame man is able to see but unable to walk, and the blind man is able to walk but unable to see. In order to reach the destination, the blind and the lame should cooperate with each other. The lame man will show the direction and the blind will move accordingly. So is the case with philosophy and education. Philosophy will show the direction and education will proceed in that direction. Education without philosophy is blind, and philosophy without education is lame. Thus, education is the dynamic side of philosophy. In other words, it is philosophy in action according to John Adams, as because education translates the ideas of philosophy into action and practice. Philosophy has always inspired educational theory as well as practice. Philosophy determines the real destination towards which education has to go. In the words of Devi, education is laboratory in which philosophical distinctions become concrete and are tested. Philosophy is wisdom. Education transmits that wisdom from one generation to the other. Philosophy represents a system of thought. Education embraces that thought in the content of instruction. Philosophy embodies a way of life. Education is the preparation for life. Philosophy is the knowledge obtained by natural reason. Education is the development of that reason and other powers of mind. Great philosophers have been great educators also. Great philosophers have been great educationists in the East as well as in the West. Education is the strongest instrument for the realization of the ideals of life and a civilized attempt to bring about the desired development of human personality. This indicates the fact that the plant of education draws its nourishment from the soil of philosophy. We can find the clearest examples of the dependence of education on philosophy in the lives and teaching of all the great philosophers from Yagnavalkya down to Gandhi in the East and from Socrates down to John Dewey in the West. Educators who were also great philosophers like Gandhi, Tagore, Radhakrishnan, Aurobindo Ghosh, Plato, Socrates, Locke, Comenius, Rousseau, Froebel, and Dewey have open bearing educational schemes through philosophical views and ideals. They reflected their philosophical views in their educational schemes. Socrates have given to the world his Socratic method of questioning and cross-questioning of teaching. Plato in the Republic has given the first educational classic. Rousseau, the great French philosopher, held that education should follow nature. John Dewey of America took keen interest in solving the educational problems of his country. Gandhiji is the father of basic education. In the words of Ross, if further agreement is needed to establish the fundamental dependence of education on philosophy, it may be found in the fact that on the whole, great philosophers have been great educationists also. The ultimate questions of education are the questions of philosophy. Russell comments that philosophy is an attempt to answer the ultimate questions of education. Philosophy of education undertakes the systematic discussion of educational problems on the philosophical level. Philosophy determines the various aspects of education. Every aspect of education has a philosophical base. There is no aspect of education, aims, curriculum, method, textbooks, discipline, teacher, etc., which is not influenced and determined by philosophy. It is philosophy which provides aims to education, and these aims determine the curriculum, principles of teaching, the methods of teaching, the textbook, the role of the teacher and learners, the school discipline. Thus, education is the dynamic, active side and practical side of philosophy. All the problems of education are the problems of philosophy. That is why Gentile says education without philosophy would mean a failure to understand the precise nature of education. It is because philosophy determines both aim of life and the aim of education. Height and breadth of education is probed by philosophy. It helps to construct curriculum according to the needs of the individual and the society. J.S. Ross remarks, from every angle of the educational problems comes the demand for philosophical basis of life and education. Interrelationship between philosophy and education. There is a strong interrelationship between philosophy and education. Philosophy guides the path of education. Philosophy is also the inspiration behind education and creates the need for education by providing incentive to continue learning and knowledge generation. Philosophy and education are related like flower and fragrance, skeleton of flesh and blood. They are two flowers of one stem. According to J.S. Ross, philosophy and education are like the two sides of the same coin. One is implied by the other. The former is contemplative side of life, while the latter is active side of the coin. Philosophy is thinking process of life and education is functional part to materialize the thinking process. Educational problems are discovered in educational discourses and it has somehow a link with the philosophy to theorize it and to way forward to for solving that problem. Philosophical knowledge has a fundamental role in clarifying questions of education. Fichte has said that the art of education will never attain complete clearness without philosophy. Dewey opined that philosophy is the theory of education in its most general phase. The interrelationship between philosophy and education is presented as follows. Philosophy begins with learning and develops learning. Observation, contemplation, and fact finding are the basic processes in philosophical development. All these activities are related to education. Thus, it may be said that philosophy starts with learning, continues with learning, and enhances the process of learning. Education, on the other hand, takes direction from philosophy in deciding all important points of its course. If you found the video to be informative and interesting, I request you all to please give a like to the video to motivate me, share it for others and subscribe it so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get a notification. Philosophical principles of learning are adopted by education. Many learning principles developed by philosophy in the past are still used in the development and transformation of learning in schools. These principles include discussion, question and answer, lecture, contemplation, logical thinking, and experimentation. In this aspect, education owes much to philosophy. Education, on the other hand, has contributed towards developing novel learning methods and contributed towards developing advanced methods of philosophical inquiry. Education as a means to resolve the conservative disputes of philosophy. The dispute between the structure and principles of natural, idealistic, humanistic, and pragmatic theories of philosophy is as old as the emergence of these theories. The originators and followers of these theories could do nothing to bring harmony among the basic principles of the existing theories. But the modern education system is wise enough to accept the suitable principles of different educational philosophies quite harmoniously. In any system of schooling, be made easy, observe the principle of natural, idealistic, humanistic, pragmatic, and other prominent theories working for the good of education and educand. Philosophy and education are both working for human good. Philosophy, since its beginning, has done much to make human life more and more contemplative and contented. It has suggested that men should be more and more contemplative and give importance to the basic realities of life. Philosophy has inspired man to live an ideal life driven away from worldly pleasures. Education is another inspiring agent to guide mankind towards the ultimate good. Education takes the help of philosophy in taking principles and examples of ultimate goal of life and ensure their implementation in real life. Hence, the ultimate objective of both education and philosophy is one and the same, and that is the welfare of humankind. Philosophy is contemplative and education is applicative. History proves that all the life-changing in principles developed by philosophy are adopted by education. The Vedic, Buddhist and Muslim education system, which prevailed in India in different time periods of history, adopted the philosophical principles of their own practically and religiously. There is a direct correlation between philosophical opinions and educational practices. Psychologists who study human personality recognize that a personality can be broken down into certain factors or dispositions. A cluster of statements to which someone assent can be highly correlated with a cluster of action in which he engages. It would seem reasonable that there should be a correlation between the advocacy of a set of philosophical opinions and the tendency for an educational practitioner to behave in a certain way in the classroom or administrative situation. Furthermore, if particular philosophical tenets are correlated with particular personality disposition, we would expect that each major personality type is correlated with the major philosophical system. Empirical studies have actually been done which tends to confirm these predictions. The absolutism of philosophy is balanced by education. Many principles of philosophy having too ideal to be implemented practically. For example, philosophy would say that oneness in thinking, speaking and doing is the truth. But the well accepted fact is that such practice is too high a goal for an average human being. In such cases, education provides guidance and examples. Philosophy and education as cultural institutions. Both education and philosophy are correlated as verbalization and manifestation of culture ethos. Since the ethos of a culture is the gestalt of all its institutions, a change in one institution, that is either philosophy or education, may produce a corresponding change in one or more other institutions. From the above discussion, it is evident that there is an overt and interdependent relationship between education and philosophy. Both of these not only support each other but also fulfill the diverse needs of people with different personality types. This correlation is so time-tested and reliable that there is no sign of imbalance between the two since the prehistoric time till date. It must therefore be accepted that philosophy and education are mutually dependent and complementary in all areas of their existence. Thank you very much for patiently watching the video and don't forget to subscribe.